Thank you very much. And seeing as though we're running so late, I thank you for having me here today and enjoy the glow up. So thank you. I am going to cut it a little short, though, because I could speak for about 3 hours, but I won't, because we really do need to get out there, have mocktails, and party amongst ourselves. So, yes, as you heard, well, briefly, one of my many goals was to get on Survivor. Now, I'm not going to talk about Survivor, but I will tell you right away, because I know you're thinking, there is no toilet paper, food, or toilets, or toothbrushes. So you can get that off your mind. So what I'm going to do is talk a little about my experience, but how it relates to life, how it relates to my life and every one of your lives. And as we heard today, there were so many concepts, thoughts, feelings that came up that I will reiterate in my Survivor story a little bit. So one of them is always be true to yourself. So, well, I go back a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting older and let's rewind. Okay, so to get on Survivor, it took persistence and belief in oneself. And I have no idea why I wanted to get on Survivor. It took me 8 years of applying because I just felt driven to do this. And so application after application. Now, that isn't all I was doing. I'm a wife, a mother, a wife of 53 years now, a mother of 3 daughters, 7 grandchildren. So it's not like that's, and I'm a nurse. So I was working 15, 16 hours, back-to-back shifts, etc. But I just felt driven. What happened was, as we know in life, sometimes things don't go exactly where you think they're going. But for those 8 years, I was preparing. I was doing all kinds of stuff to be on Survivor, one of which was staying fit, because I was trying for 8 years. So by the time I made it, I was 61 years old. So I have been one of 2 women, or well, it was at that time, one of 2 people over 60 to make it to Survivor. So I want to do, thank you. So there's one lesson right there, is you're never too young or too old to do something that you want to do. So you keep doing it. So it turned out that all of these hours of, I knew how to eat worms and find mussels on rocks and fish with an Australian sling and chop a coconut without chopping my fingers off. All of that stuff was never wasted because it's good. Well, you want to know how to eat worms, I'm sure. So always go through any door that opens for you because you never know where it's going to lead. So in the long run, it turned out that my goal was to get on Survivor. What I didn't know was it was to get on Survivor, get off Survivor, and use Survivor. So keep that in mind as you're working towards something that you want to do. The preparation will never be wasted because you can use it somehow. So in my case, what it was for was in order to use Survivor. I didn't know it, actually. When I was applying, I had no idea I was going to become a public figure. I had no idea that I couldn't go to the grocery store in my pajamas. Well, I can, and I do, but, that's the sort of thing you don't realize when you're preparing for things. So here I get on Survivor. I'm booted off second. And I didn't really care for my tribe because they weren't, in one of the classes today, they talked about, well, many of them, it's been the same message all day. Surround yourself with like-minded, like people. Somebody called it aura, and absolutely. Well, I got onto my tribe, and it certainly was not a match for me. They were all very, and yes, that's what Survivor's all about. Any of you who watch it, it's like, duh, Jillian, didn't you think you were going to be with a whole bunch of people you got along with? It wasn't that. We just didn't match. And here's the next message. Always be true to yourself. Anybody watch Survivor so you know what I'm talking about? So they pull you aside and ask you all kinds of questions. Well, I could not give production what they wanted. They wanted me to say what I was thinking. There was no way, because I did not have anything really nice in my head about what was going on in my tribe. I remained true to myself. I could not do that to myself, my family, and my community. And as it turned out, I've become very well immersed in my community. Had I said what I was thinking, that wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have been that nice person that people think I am. I mean, yeah, I got you fooled. So there's a lesson. Always be true to yourself. And somebody said, you know, keep honest and integrity even when nobody's watching. Well, in my case, I was being true to myself, honest, and maintaining my integrity when the world was watching, which I didn't realize because the world watches Survivor. What would I have thought if I had said things and all of a sudden now the world is watching this woman? How could I do that to my family? If I was going to do it to myself, that's one thing. But to do that to your family and have them embarrassed by who you are or what you did. So don't ever forget your own integrity and who you are. The other thing is today is shining the light. Always know that you have a light. Again, if you know Survivor, the big thing is Jeff makes you light your torch, and when you've got flame, you're alive, or whatever his thing is. Whatever, he's been saying it for, I don't know, 30 years or something. You'd think I'd remember. But when you're kicked out of that game, your flame is extinguished. Never, ever let anyone extinguish your flame. Nobody will ever touch the flame that I have inside of me. That is my flame. And every one of you has one as well. And as with any light, you saw the lighthouse flaming, the light going out there, is that light that you have, you absolutely can share it with others. If you don't have a light, you can't share it with anybody. So keep your flame alive. I normally carry a little Home Depot torch that I've decorated with beads and skulls and all kinds of really cool stuff because I wasn't going to pay about $3,000 to buy my Survivor torch. So I made this one, and I take it with me when I talk at schools, and they think it is so cool. I mean, I've got this beautiful seabird skull kind of hanging on it, and it's really cool. So I carry it, though, because now when you think of that, you're going to think of a Home Depot torch with a skull on it, but it's your light. It was my light, and don't let anybody touch it. So that's the other thing that I want people to realize is always be true to yourself. Do not let anybody extinguish your flame because it's yours to have. And I really am going to cut it short because we do want to get on with the blow-up. Anybody has any Survivor questions, they can come and ask me. But the other thing that I do wherever I speak is I carry a rock in my pocket wherever I go. Now, in this basket that looks very Survivor-like, it isn't, but we pretend it is, there are some rocks in there. I would like everybody to pick a rock. I don't hand them out because you have to pick your own rock. Just walk past on the way to the glow party. Pick a rock to remember that you are unique. You are different from everyone else, just like all the little stones in there are different from each of them. Some of them are more jagged, some of them are very smooth, some of them are different colors, some of them are different shapes. Just like every one of us, that's who we are. And remember that you are one of those unique people in this world. There's only one you. Look after it and share yourself. And also, some of them are a little smoother. And that's because they've been tumbled more. And that's what happens to rocks. That's what happens to people in life. They get tumbled, until eventually they smooth, or maybe not. It just means a little more tumbling needs to happen. But keep that in your pocket. I've been doing speaking. That was the other thing Survivor gave me, was the opportunity to speak. I love it because I always know that there's one person that will hear one thing, even if it's to get a rock and to think about that. And that's what matters. And today, I'm sure you all walked into the room that you needed to walk into and heard something because you were meant to be there. So please pick your rock, rub it when you're feeling discouraged. Think about, nope, I can do it. And I gave, as I said, given out rocks for years. I have some kids that come up to me sometimes and say, oh, I got a rock from you when you spoke in my class, and that was about 8 years ago. And every time I feel, well, actually what this one kid said, every time I fail, I look at my rock. And I said, whoa, you don't fail. The fact that you looked at your rock and you picked yourself up and you carried on is what you were made to do. And if it's a little rock that reminded you, then you did it. So please choose a rock. Then the other thing is, you know, there's a commercial that says, what's in your wallet? Well, there's something that should be in your wallet as well. I have these little cards, and what I want you to do is put your goal on the back. If you want to put it in pencil, if you think it's going to change, and it may, we all have goals that change. Mine was to get on Survivor, that goal of mine, but it turned into something different. And again, you heard me apply for 20 times, 8 years. How do you deal with rejection? That's one of the other lessons you've got to remember. Are you being rejected? Or are they not wanting you for it not matching what they are looking for? So don't feel rejected and, oh, I'm not going to try again. You just didn't have what they wanted. I didn't have what Survivor wanted for 8 years. But I kept going. If I'd given up after application number 19 or whatever it was, I wouldn't be standing here today. So you put your goal on here and keep it in your wallet. Every time you start thinking, okay, what am I doing now? Pull it out. And there's lots in here. If you want one autographed, I'll sign it and you can sell it on eBay. So there you go, whatever you want to do. But I want you to remember, putting my rock back in, I have lived my life with a motto, and I still do. It is essential. You have to dream it. You've heard that all day. You have to dream it, but you have to believe it. If you don't dream it, nothing happens. If you don't believe it, nothing happens. The next one, essential. If you don't prepare for it, it will not happen. And if you dream it, believe it, prepare for it, you will do it. Now, every one of you has a different it. Which of these do you think is the most important? Shout it out. Let me hear it, because we want to go blow up. All of it. If you do not dream it, believe it, prepare for it, and do it, you will not. And all I can tell you guys is you have all got it, what it takes, because you're here. You've got what it takes that you've had in your life so far. So go for it. I'm sure today you've been thinking, what am I going to do when I go home? That's called the beginning of a dream. It may be a continuation of a dream, but dream it, believe it, prepare for it, and you will do it. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. And please help yourself to a stone. Keep it in your pocket, and you can have a wallet card if you want one.